Welcome, everybody. Sorry we're late. It's going to be another exciting night of Chewin the BBQ Fat. Hopefully, everything goes well. My computer, my Wi-Fi went out, had a lot of issues. Imagine that. So hopefully, you can hear me okay. Hopefully, everything goes well. Very excited about tonight's show with Emily with KCBS. We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. It's going to be a great show. But anyway, if you'll like the page, share the page, get it out there as much as possible, and let's have a great conversation tonight. So yeah, I was messing with the breaker in the garage, and I flipped something, and I lost internet. So I'm hoping this is good enough. Let me know if it's working okay. If not, then we will continue to work on things. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and bring Emily on, and because we're already late, I don't want to keep her any longer than I promised. So Emily, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good. I am very good. I'm excited about tonight. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I know we've been trying to get you on for a while. This is great tonight. I'm excited
Yeah.
to discuss KCBS, the greatest sanctioning body. I know there's some other good what KCBS does, and give you an opportunity to talk about it and go from there.
That sounds great.
What's been going on with you?
Well, I tell you what, I just I got the dreaded voicemail that I think many of us parents out there were expecting here in Kansas City. We're expecting a snowmageddon tomorrow. So
no.
the school is canceled phone call. You know, when you've got young kids at home, it's like, okay, well, guess we will be pivoting tomorrow. So anyway, no, but things are good. At least we have the ability to do all of that, and barbecue never stops. So we find ways of powering through. No, we can't. We're just coming off of a great 2021 season. I think, all things considered, we had a lot thrown at us from ongoing impact, from the pandemic. But for the most part, we've really come through it in a good way. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for hanging in there, obviously, and for continuing to show up. That's the most important thing. We've had contests, we've had classes, and people have still been very interested in what's going on in the world of barbecue and certainly in KCBS. So, we finished 2021 pretty much on a high note, I think, given where we, were with the pandemic before. So we had a great World Invitational, super big congrats to everybody who did so well there. Chris Schaefer winning the Open and the Wells Cup. That was awesome. Richard Fragola, obviously, all of our backyard teams that did a great job. And again, just what a big shout out to Brad Leninger for taking home 2 years in a row, the Team of the Year Grand Champion, and Joe as well for Reserve Grand. Those guys just battle it out, and they do a fantastic job. And at the end of the day, I think that they're good stewards for the sport. So I love to know that they're still out there this year. They might not necessarily be going for the full-on push, but giving others the opportunity to do so, but yet still being very involved. So I love that.
It was a great show, entertaining into last year. I know y'all are very happy with Joe and Brad going at it, and then Chris coming in at the end thinking he had a chance. But Chris is killing it right now. I tell you what,
he is.
Heavy Smoke is on fire right now, doing a lot of great things. Just so exciting to see what's happening. But real quick, let's get into all the fun things that happen at KCBS. I know the J Cup is going strong right now.
Yeah, so we're in the midst of a couple of different things that we're working through. So one is the final beta testing of our J Cup. So again, that's our Judge Continuing Update program. It's basically continuing education, and we've had a ton of positive feedback for everyone who has had a chance to beta test that. I also want to say, again, a big thank you and congratulations to our CBJ committee, the rules committee, our IT work group, certainly our staff. I mean, it has taken a lot of people a lot of time to put that together. Certainly our instructors and reps as well have been very involved. So I think once it completely rolls out, I think people are really going to like it, because it's talking about all of the updates to the scoring method and the scoring system for one thing. But it's also just a great way to level set, depending on when people came into their certified barbecue judge training. So, it doesn't take that long. It's about an hour, I think, total by the time you get through all the modules. Right now, there's no cost to it. So, it's very easy to complete. And again, I think that it's just a great way of making sure you're on the page, if you will, with the current methods. So anyway, that's really exciting. We've also launched our online judge stake certification program. So that also is rolling out in waves. I would say one of the biggest things that, we've gotten questions about is, when can I do it? Everybody wants to know. And so we are rolling it out in stages, just so as not to completely overwhelm our LMS, or learning management system. So if you haven't, gotten your link for it yet, don't worry, it will come and you will be able to take it. So anyway, that's been very positive, really both from judges and from cooks. So again, just a huge thank you to everybody who's worked on that and really gotten after it to make sure that it's working well. So yes, that has been a very exciting project.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, other things that we've got going on. So as you know,
it's cool to see the progress that y'all said you'll be continuing to do. And I love that. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me. And
I can. It's kind of garbled sometimes, but
real quick, if you can hear me, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me, Emily?
Yes.
Probably
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? I think he's frozen. Technology is great when it works.
Can you hear me?
I got you. I can hear you.
Yes. Oh my God, this is awful. This is terrible. I'm trying my hardest to make this work, and it's not working real good. But real quick, if I keep going out again, just you keep rolling.
You got it.
Can you talk a little bit about the pork rule, and what all that's going on? Because that seems to be funny on my end, watching all the Facebook information. But just give a little bit of discussion about where the pork rule is and what y'all think about that.
Yeah, I mean, the pork rule really came, honestly, it's come up for years. And so the rules committee, again, has done a nice job of kind of working through some of that. And, at the end of the day, I guess the biggest push that came about with the pork rule was the question of, why are we so restrictive on pork when we don't specify weights and things like that on other meats? And so, as the rules committee battled it back and forth, and also got the CBJ committee involved, and really thought it through, that's where it basically came from. And also a lot of feedback from cooks along the way that said, it just doesn't necessarily make sense to put all the restrictions on it like we had on the others. And so that's ultimately where it came from. We are certainly not, some cooks say, or not just cooks, but some people say, well, people are only going to turn in money muscle now. That they may or may not. I don't think that that's only what people are going to turn in. I think if you like that, you may turn that in, but I think people are still going to cook the entire butt, and they're going to turn in all kinds of things. So, I just think it's interesting, and we are evolving based on the feedback that we get from the members, and certainly from the cooks. And really, that's where a lot of this originated from. So, I really haven't. I've seen some of the different memes, but we haven't seen the up in arms feedback, I guess, that maybe had happened in years past. So for the most part, I think we'll see how this goes. And as with all rules or guidelines as well, we really try to have all of those set in place for the next season, right? So this season technically began November 1st, and the next season for 2023 would begin November 1st of 2022, basically. So I say that because the rules committee works on things throughout the year as they are brought up. And so if there are specific, we'll obviously continue to monitor how all of this goes. And if things need to perhaps change or be updated, whether it's the pork rule or something else, that will go back to the committee. And the other thing I would tell you is these committees are extremely thorough. Sometimes to the point where when I'm on because I try to attend every single committee meeting as much as possible. And sometimes you really question, like, do we need to go down this rabbit hole? Do we need to talk about things in this level of detail? But the answer is yes, and we also try to have a lot of different perspectives on each committee because, a cook might think one thing and a rep or a judge may have a very different view or opinion, or not necessarily conflict, but just to say, well, did you think about the repercussion if you do this? Or what if we also add that? So I just think it's important for people to know that, these are not quick decisions that necessarily come out. There's a lot of thought and careful thought that goes into them. So, that kind of takes me to one of my next topics, and that is with our new season kicking off. It's essentially from a board year. We also will be in the process of identifying new committee chairs and new committee opportunities. And so, I think that volunteering one's time to serve on a committee within KCBS is one of the best ways that you can impact change. So, if you don't like something, or if you want to see something changed or added, one of the best ways is to just get involved. And, we've got great committees. We've got sanctioning. We have the rules committee, the CBJ committee. We've got work groups like our World Invitational and marketing. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get involved and share ideas. One of my biggest things I notice, I guess, is that sometimes we hear the, maybe I'll say the vocal minority, the people who love to complain. But, in my experience, I always am a firm believer of, if you don't like something, yes, identify the problem, but also come with some ideas on what could make it better. And that's really what I would say. We are very open to listening to ideas, and certainly we all want to work together to make the sport of barbecue better and to make it long lasting. And so, coming with positive and constructive ideas and feedback is so much better than just complaining. So I say that.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
And going back to the pork thing, it's funny, and hopefully y'all can hear me. The pork thing is, nobody ever says you have to turn in burn ends, right? Like, everybody gets up in arms about that. You just turn in you can turn slices. Chicken, nobody's saying you have to turn in wings and thighs or legs or something like that. I don't understand why everybody gets all fired up about it. I think it's funny. If you want to turn in muscle, turn in muscle. What does it matter? If
That's right.
That's the best. Who cares? Go on and move on. I mean, no, it's not a game. No, it's whatever. I think it's a lot of people just getting fired up about nothing. That's me.
Yes.
That's my take on it. What do I know?
I mean, at the end of the day, you
awesome.
should put your best meat in the box. And, I can tell you, seeing it on the judging side, that's really the most important thing, because I've seen a lot of different boxes. And, if you're putting too much in there and some of it doesn't look good, just don't put it in there. I don't know. That's my perspective on it. You've got to put your best meat in the box. And so if something is not your best that day, my opinion personally is just go with what is absolutely your best that day. And I know that might not always come out according to your plan, but.
Right. And real quick, I'm going to bring you on the next thing so you can talk about it before I go away again. The one meat categories, the two meat categories, is that something that y'all are thinking about using for organizers to make it an easier game to get people into the sport?
So it's a great topic and definitely something that we are going to be discussing more. So again, as we go into our new board season, we will have our retreat yet here in February. And so we talk about a lot of different things. And this is definitely going to be a topic of what does that look like? And, we absolutely want to make sure that it is kind of quote unquote easier or more accessible, both for organizers and for cooks, especially new cooks, to get into the sport. Because we do know that once people are involved, they really enjoy it and they want to do more, whether that's, more contests or joining up with somebody else to cook, things like that. So we definitely recognize that there is a strong need for looking at different options. Originally the backyard was kind of meant to do that, right? And I think backyard has just continued to grow, and we've got some really strong cooks in the backyard. So now we've got almost a similar level of competitor in the backyard as we do technically in the Master Series. And so, we're always trying to think about what do we do next, right? The one meat contests are a great way to add to an existing contest, or also to do them as, an existing, or excuse me, as a standalone. And we've seen those done successfully. I think, originally the intention behind those was not necessarily to be added as points chasers, but they certainly became that way for existing cooks. But I do think that we can continue to do more to really help drive education and engagement with organizers to help them understand that, hey, if you're already having a contest, add one of those and maybe use that as a method to really encourage other people, in their community to come out. And in some places they get more of the community to come than in others. I mean, I look at Osage City, Kansas, and Corey just does a fantastic job there in getting the community to come out. And so something like a one meat contest could be a really great way there to tap into those people that are already coming, and to say, hey, why not try to compete against some of these Master Series competitors, or really strong competitors in their area. So that's definitely something that I think we can look into more. We've also seen those one meat contests just popular, like I said, among even things like putting together three one meat rib contest, and that's all you have. Still something really fun, and a different way perhaps of engaging people. So that's one thing. I hear the point for sure on trying to look at more of a two meat, but still Master Series. So I think that's definitely something we can look into. And again, as I mentioned before, when we create opportunities like that, we really try to think about it through all parties, right? And so again, we need to vet it properly to make sure that we've thought everything through, but it is definitely something that we will talk about.
That's great. And I think you're going back to what we discussed last week with Brad, if you can hear me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can.
And I apologize, everybody. I'm sorry. It's been such a good show, and I can't. What do you see new happening throughout this season with KCBS barbecue in general?
Seeing new throughout the season. Well, I would tell you that we are seeing some new interest, just in terms of even new organizers coming into the fold, new contests coming into the fold. We've announced our steak program, so we're continuing to work on that. We have some other new things that are in the works that I think we'll be able to share very, very, very soon. So we've got some additional opportunities, perhaps out of the norm in terms of locations for various contests and things like that. So those are some new things that are happening. I definitely think we need to also be looking at how we get new people involved, and I think everybody is a part of that. I don't know that that's just only KCBS saying, how do we do that? I really believe that it's everybody. And I've heard, a lot of people talk about what do we need to do to get back to our roots for these contests, things like that. We certainly want to continue focusing on helping organizers put on the best show that they can, essentially the best contest, for example. So, but again, there are certain things that we are going to work on within KCBS, and I think our sanctioning committee could work on a lot of these things in terms of helping to provide more of those tools for the organizers. I mean, we do have tools today, but I think there's always more that we can do there. And I also think, and I heard some of the discussion about it last week. I appreciate the recognition that, at the end of the day, sometimes just the method in which everyone cooks and, hangs out in their trailer, puts the smokers in the back. And so for an organizer, if they're going to make money and be able to continue to do this, they need to bring the public. They need to, make it more engaging. And so sometimes we can be our own worst enemy by backing in and not being visible to the people that come through. So I say that, and I say it in a very positive intention, because again, as we all work together to figure out ways of making these events better and making people understand and get them engaged and like the sport and like what we're all doing, we all play a part in that. And so, I'll tell you on behalf of KCBS, I think we're going to try to work even harder on coming up with various tools and things to help support those organizers. And our ask basically is that everybody plays their part, whether they're a judge, whether they're a cook. The reps certainly work really hard to make sure that the events are fair and everything is done according to the plan and the playbook. So, it takes all of us, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree 100%. I always say that the organizers, promoters, it's on them, right? It's on them. They're the ones that chose KCBS to sanction their event. So the organizer and the promoter are the ones that need to go out and push it and bring in the public to do their part. And yes, KCBS and everybody and any other sanctioning body can help the organizer, but it's the organizer is the one that has to get the public involved and everything else. I don't see KCBS going out there just saying, poof, here comes the public, right? I think it has a lot to do with the organizer and the teams.
Yes.
Right. The teams need to be, but that's also the organizer asking the teams to do more. So
sure.
That's my take on it. What do I know?
Yeah. And, I will go back to one of the events that I know it's not currently happening, but I honestly believe that King of the Smoker did a fantastic job. And I know that there are other contests that do this too. So that's just an example that I personally have attended a few times that I think did a great job. And that was really engaging the pitmasters who were there to compete. Once turn-ins were over, having little mini stages set up, and at that point, inviting the public to come in and participate and showing off things that, Joe Backyard could cook at home, so not necessarily showing how to trim a competition brisket, but showing how do you make, chicken skewers for the grill, or how do you do a great pork tenderloin recipe, on your smoker, things like that are more attainable for people just that love barbecue, that love what everybody's doing, but, aren't necessarily ready to take that step into competition, but give them a taste of something. I think, to me, that was a great example of things that an organizer can work with their teams to say, hey, would you be willing to do this? It's not that much time. We'll do it after turn-ins, right? Still make a great event for the public, and then finding ways to make sure that the public has a chance to actually try barbecue, whether or not there are food trucks or something or vending from some of the teams that are there or People's Choice. But all of that stuff I think is really important, because to get the public involved, they want to come try and smell and, have barbecue. And so if they're not able to do that, it does make it's just it's not what they were expecting. So it's always a fine balance. And I think that the organizers that have done a really nice job of getting the public out there or combining their barbecue with a public facing festival, with music and beer gardens and that kind of thing, those tend to be the ones that are going to have more success. And again, the more experience we can help to make that friendly to the public, I think is a good thing. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. And obviously we are seeing more festivals safely coming back. And so that's another thing that I think is really a positive indicator for 2022 and beyond.
Yeah. I think Greenwood Festival of Discovery, people that I've been a part of after turn-ins and everything else. So it's great. What do you see? Coming back?
That was garbled. I couldn't hear any of that. Could you ask the question again? Oh, Brian, could you ask me again?
People coming back into barbecue. Do you see people coming back into barbecue?
Yes, I do see people coming back into barbecue. So that's a great question. We've had, and again, I try to think about things through the lens of all of our kind of key groups, if you will, right? So the judges, the cooks, the reps. Yes, I am seeing people coming back into barbecue. We've had some people that perhaps sat out for a year or two because of the pandemic. We've also seen people that, maybe had to sit out for other reasons for a year or two, whether that was financially driven. Obviously, as I can attest, when you have young kids, that can have an impact on your time and ability to come involved and be involved in different things. But yeah, I think we have seen some teams that have come back, for instance. We're certainly seeing it from a judge perspective. We have, even from a membership standpoint, we have reached out to our members and we've even gone back to doing postcards and printed materials to send to them to renew and things like that. And they're coming back. So that has been a good thing. Yes. And, the other thing I would say is we definitely recognize that some people are not competing as much or they're not participating as much as they have. So we are always working on how do we make sure that we grow our retention numbers as well as, focus on bringing new people in. So I still would love to try to do more things with younger people, whether that's college or, high school programs and things like that. So again, I think any of those opportunities are really feeder programs to get people involved. And, we're always looking for that. So we've done a few things with the American Meat Science Association with their collegiate chapters. We've had a couple of colleges reach out to us recently to come and speak to their ag departments or their meat science students. So, those are definitely things that we're trying to do as much as we get those opportunities to go and get those people involved as well.
I love it. Awesome. This is awful. I'm sorry, Katie. What is the, it's hard to not have a dialogue, which I really want to have. We are looking to put on a contest in November. We're changing it all up. And what are something that you recommend that we do or any other new organizer do for a contest?
Great question. So, the first thing that I would say for a brand new organizer is to go out and shadow a contest. And we actually do require that for new organizers. That would be the first thing. I think the second thing would be reach out to us and I think we talk to new organizers quite a bit, but I would like to also put together almost a subgroup, if you will, to really help from a mentoring standpoint, because we've got some fantastic organizers all across the US and around the world that are willing to share. And I think we've got, now that we've got a couple of different organizers on the board, I think that's been helpful too. So I'd like to see more of that as well with our organizer groups. But then I would also say, not only figure out your plan, but figure out potential partnerships, help get some sponsors and community members engaged. Obviously, you need a lot of volunteers to make contests work, but people also genuinely like to be involved. They like to help. So, I think if you can surround yourself with a group of like-minded people that are willing to be involved and willing to help, that's really one of the key steps in the beginning, because it does take a lot of people to pull together a contest, especially a new one. One of the other things I would say to new organizers is walk before you run. I think, in 2021, we saw, not necessarily among new, but we saw things like the double headers becoming more difficult to put on from an organizer's perspective and actually be able to make any money. So, or at least not lose money from an organizer's perspective, right? So I think, thinking about trying to walk before you can run, and make sure you almost do like a test year, right? Do your first year, keep it relatively simple. But if you wanted to add something fun, like we were just talking about with the one meet to get your public coming out and cooking against, the pit masters, for example, that would be something fun. Find ways to do little demos in there, but keep it relatively simple, at least brand new, first time out of the box. That would be one of the tips that I would give to a new organizer.
That's great. That's what, we're going to try and keep it easy, I hope. That's great. Well, is there and I apologize, this is awful. Is there anything else you would like to tell people about KCBS before you go?
I mean, we've got a lot going on right now, and it's all very positive momentum. So, like I mentioned, I've got a couple new programs that are close to being ready to launch. So I want to come back soon so that I can tell you all about those. But, as always, our turkey smoke program is continuing and growing this year. Smithfield is back to work with us again on our World Invitational. We're in the process of finalizing, where we think we might go for that, for the location this year. I've heard some desire for that. So anyway, but I guess the biggest thing that I could tell everybody is, there's a lot going on. So make sure you're always checking out kcbs.us. But if you have ideas, I genuinely mean this when I say, please share them. Pick up the phone and call me. Reach out to one of our board members or one of our committee members or the staff, because I know that this group that's listening has a ton of great ideas and talks about barbecue and KCBS and the other sanctioning bodies all the time. And that's great. We want to hear what you want. We want to hear what is interesting and what you think could help be part of our opportunities moving forward. Again, KCBS is a membership-based organization, and we exist basically to make sure that we've got programs in place that are appealing to all of our various members. So, when you think about it through that lens, if you've got ideas, bring them forward, because if we don't hear them, they don't fall on deaf ears, I guess is what I would say. We definitely, everything that comes through, we talk about, we bring it to the right committees that need to be working on it, or we work on it in the office with the staff and myself. So again, please make sure that your voice is heard. And if you don't like something, that's okay too. But also make sure you think about, don't just throw the shit sandwich, as I like to say, but also come with some solutions and ideas. So, no, we've got so much positive momentum. I think 2022 is really shaping up to be a good year for barbecue. And it's, in a sense, coming out of the pandemic, I don't think any of us obviously saw it coming or wanted it to happen, of course, but there are lessons, I think, for all of us that we can take from it. And there are things we've had to change that, quite frankly, I think benefit people and will continue even after all of this is over. So, I'm very positive about what we have going on. And I think we've got a great group of people. I do want to say, a nice thank you to all of our outgoing board members. They have put in a tremendous amount of time. And I'd like to also welcome the new directors as well, because, it's one thing to say I want to run for the board, and then it's a totally different thing once you get in there and, really get to work. So anyway, I just, everybody who steps up and says, I want to be part of a committee or a group or run for the board, they genuinely care about the organization and all of our members. And so my hat is off to them, and I thank them. So we're off to a great start. We've got a lot going on this year, and come be part of it. That's what I would tell people.
Yeah. And be a part of it. Do what y'all want to do. Y'all, every time I've ever had any issues, I call, y'all answer, you do everything that's needed to be a part of the show or be a part of the whatever, the KCBS. So I would recommend, if you have any issues, call them. They're good. And I know Emily's been, for me, you've been very receptive to everything we've ever asked for. So I do appreciate you. Hopefully you can hear me.
I can. I appreciate you.
But it's been a lot of fun, and I apologize for tonight's show. My internet,
That's all
I'm
right.
having to use a hotspot, and it's terrible. Because I really have been looking forward to this for a long time. Post Emily's cell number. No, I give you your email address.
Yeah.
And from there. But how can people get into? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Shoot me an email, ceo@kcbs.us. And that's always the best way. And then I'll give you a call back or shoot you an email back, and then we can pick out a time to talk. So, but like I said, it's not just me. It really takes a village, and we've got a great group of people that really have stepped up and said they want to be a part of everything. So the other thing that I did put out this, I think I said it earlier too, but I just hit home again. If you think you'd like to sign up and be part of one of the volunteer groups or committees, again, send us an email. You can either send it to me or send it to the office, which is info@kcbs.us. And let us know, hey, these are the 2 or 3 committees I think I'd be most interested in and or the potential to best serve. So send us that. I'm keeping track of all of those. And as we have the new assignments for committee chairs coming out, I'll be working with them to say, I've received all of these from various people that want to get involved. So, yeah, please reach out and be part of it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And we had a lot to discuss. I'm going to have you back on once you announce some more of this other thing.
For sure.
Some of your other stuff that you want to announce. But I thank you so much for coming on tonight and making it work for us. You've always been such a good friend of the show, and I appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely.
Please send her an email. Any of the discussions that we've had, send her an email. She will address it, or she will give it to the right people.
That's right.
But thanks again, Emily. I appreciate it all. Hope everybody has a wonderful night. And we will be back to Monday nights starting next week. We will just go back to 9 o'clock. So
very good. Thanks, Brian. And I'm going to try to stay warm and
well, you stay safe.
Oh my gosh, we'll be getting the shovels out tomorrow for sure.
When is it supposed to come in?
It's actually already started.
No.
There's a little snow already coming, and all night and tomorrow. So fun times.
We'll be praying for you. Hope it stays safe, and y'all be careful out there.
Yes, to everyone.
That's right.
Thanks, Brian.
Y'all. Have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.
If you can stay